of the Book Fix podcast, a podcast that saves lives one book at a time. But this time, another TV show, although it is a book. I'm your host, Yahaira.
And I'm your host, Chelly.
So, Chelly, I sent you something, and all I got from you was radio silence. And I sent this a while ago.
Okay, but you know, both of us be living our Hannah Montana lives. It's been so busy
Is that what's...
on both of our ends.
That's true.
So
I do forgive you, but I am a little salty about it. But it's okay. We could discuss it now. So I'm very excited to get your opinion on this, okay?
Okay.
So I found this tweet. It was written by @Susanna_Nix. And they wrote, imagine being an actor / audiobook narrator who's paid thousands of dollars to narrate an author's book and then going on TikTok to mock the writing. This woman has no idea how many bridges she's burned. What writer would ever want to hire her after hearing that?
What?
Yeah. Thoughts? What are you thinking?
Wait,
what are your thoughts right now?
Is the video somewhere on here? Oh, she deleted her whole TikTok account.
Yeah, she deleted her whole TikTok account. So I don't know who it was. I'm not sure what book it was either. But yeah, she just deleted everything.
Dude, I don't know if it's just like a generational thing. That makes me sound so fucking old. But it feels like people are so comfortable with just posting
with airing
anything
out
online. Yeah. Because there are some things, like if you have opinion, if you're an audiobook like narrator and you have opinions on the piece that you're narrating, that's something that you can share with friends, maybe, you know, but if you are thinking of being employed in the future, you're not going to post that online. Like no one's going to want to hire you after you say something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but I agree with you. I think it's a generation thing because there was like an influx of people that just kept airing out dirty laundry pertaining to their work. Like, for example, like say you're a nurse and all of these nurses would just make these videos like, oh my God, today I had this patient. And it's like, why are you talking about your patients?
Yep.
You should not be talking about your patients. It's like a similar thing. Like you shouldn't be talking about your work to potentially thousands of people.
It gives the same energy of like when YouTubers are like, I've been quiet for too long, and it's like no one asked. No one asked. I'm sorry you went through that. That's
I really
an
don't care.
issue. I can't help you if you didn't get your money. You have to contact someone, not post it online where that person will most likely never hire you again. Like it's kind of insane.
So I just thought that was so crazy because then I started thinking about the books that we haven't liked, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like thinking, like, imagine if that audiobook narrator came out and said, oh my God, I hated like saying this part. It's like, oh my,
dude,
like now you're breaking a fourth wall. Like it's weird.
And also like at the end of the day, even when we don't like books, we never would go up to an author and be like, hey, your writing is trash. And like we kind of joke about it because like we go to book conventions and there are possibilities to meet those types of authors where the writing is not the greatest. But like,
in our opinion, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you. We wouldn't go up to them and trash them. And it's kind of like when we went to go see Tahiti Mafi and Adam Silvera, when Adam was like, oh, well, writing, like your opinion on it is subjective. Like you can't expect everyone to like the same thing. So if someone does, you don't have to like write a hate comment and tag the author specifically. You can write a criticism on it, but that's different, you know?
Yeah, like that is so weird to be tagging the author when you have, you know, a negative review for their book. But also like we're not employed by these people, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very different. Like it's a different dynamic. But if someone were to be paying me and then me going off on like a tangent of how much I don't like my employer or my job or whatever, that's kind of weird when it's attached to like a person.
I feel like sometimes, and like specifically with Book Talk, when it comes to certain things that people don't like, if someone else doesn't like the same things, it kind of feels like sometimes there are some people that can't let that shit go. Like if someone had an opinion of not liking a book, there's always going to be someone like, it's because you don't get it. You don't get it. And it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Just let it go. Not everyone has to like the same books.
Yeah, that's true. And I agree with you though. Like sometimes it feels like saying your opinion is like hurting someone physically. Like it's not that deep.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, I'm glad you resent that one. That fucking sucks. I wonder what's gonna happen to that audiobook narrator.
I don't know, because if I was that author, I would be like, you know what? I need a do-over. I need someone else to do my narration because I wouldn't want to be attached to that person.
No, me neither. I'd be embarrassed and humiliated.
Same. I know. That is really sad, honestly.
But to change gears, today we are talking about a TV show that's, you know, it's become part of the podcast family, honestly. Like,
yeah. Like if you've been with us long enough, you would know. You'd be like, whoa, an old friend.
Like you would know, but also you, season 1, season 2, season 3 would know. Today,
right, and now season 4.
Today we are talking about the Netflix series You, specifically season 4, part 1 and part 2.
So we have discussed the show before, so I would say go listen to it because we're probably not gonna mention a whole lot of the last seasons.
Can I give like a 2-sentence or 3-sentence summary though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just know that this story follows the main character, Joe Goldberg, who is very obsessive with love, or obsessed with the idea of love. So he constantly throughout the seasons finds women that he's in love with and is willing to hurt people in order for him to like keep this love. He crazy. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. He a little crazy. A little bit.
Dude, the way season 3 ended too, I know we already talked about this, but it ended with him kind of leaving everything behind and like following his true love, the woman that he chose.
He feels like is the one. He's so convinced now. He's like, you know what? The other 10, they all had their flaws, but Marianne, no, that's my girl right there.
So he like faked his own death and he ended up moving to,
and then he killed his ex-wife.
Oh yeah, you know, little things. Killed his ex.
And then he abandoned his son too. Poor Henry.
Yeah, but I mean, he had to. He's in love.
You're right. You do crazy things for love, right?
Where did he move
but
to?
But not
again?
love the person, love the concept.
Yeah.
He ended up following Marianne to Paris, and then he moved to London.
Okay. So season 4 starts off with him in London. And how do you want to talk about this?
Why don't we just split this up between the first part and then the second part? So let's discuss the first part of the season.
Okay. So we're introduced to no longer Joe Goldberg. Who's that bitch? I don't know. He's fucking dead.
He's fucking dead.
So we see a new Joe, full beard and everything. He's changed his name. He is now Jonathan Moore, a professor at a university. He teaches English literature.
Very fitting. Love that for him.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did you see the size of that classroom? Freaking 5 kids? Sign me up, dude. That's fucking amazing.
I know.
He's a college professor. He teaches English lit. And he's like kind of good at it. Like I don't want to toot his horn for him, but like he's pretty good at it. And he, you know what? Killing and all that shit, that's in the past. That was Joe.
Yeah. That was Joe, and Joe's dead now. And
Jonathan
Moore would never. He would never.
Yeah.
And so now he's just trying to mingle into this new world because he is mingled with the high society. He's living with like all of these rich people.
Yeah. And dude, it's so funny because he's just surrounded by like everything he hates. because he becomes friends with a professor whose name is, that's Malcolm, right? Malcolm was a professor?
Yeah, Malcolm. Mm-hmm.
And becomes friends with him, and Malcolm takes him to like a party to introduce him to all of his friends, and they are the richest, most pretentious group of people that there's ever been. And Joe is just kind of like, oh my god, this is a lot. Mm-hmm. But he's like trying to fit in and like go with the flow. And he goes to this party, gets extremely drunk. And it's funny because throughout his whole time that he's drunk, you see like little like snippets of what he's been doing. So he's over here giving someone a pep talk. He's over here like fucking sitting on the couch talking to like a politician.
Yeah, and allegedly it's like the best pep talk ever. Well, actually, before he got drunk, he did I think he ended up at the bar first, and then he saw someone familiar, and he was like, "Hey, I think I read your book." And it's an author right now.
Oh,
and his name is Reese.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an author, and his name is Reese, and I'm just going to keep calling him Joe because honestly,
it's Jonathan, but whatever. I'm just kidding.
You're gonna fight me for this.
Call him by his legal name, Jonathan Joe. Thank you.
Joe Jonathan. So he felt this connection to him because he read his book and he was like, oh, we have a lot of similarities. And when they would talk, it was like they were friends, you know? Mm-hmm. Like they vibed off of each other. But like you said, once he was at this party, they ended up, I think they roofied him, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And that's why he ends up so fucked up. And the party was apparently an amazing time. Not that he remembers anything, but like you said, he's giving all of these like pep talks, and he gave it to Lady Phoebe, who is like a really rich girl. And she's like, oh my God, it's the best advice I've ever gotten. Honestly, life changing. But then Malcolm ends up taking Joe home. And when Joe wakes up, he's like, never again. It's the same fucking speech every time. Anytime something, like he does something that he doesn't love, he's like, oh, never again. That was the old me. I'm not going to any more of these parties. But then he walks into the kitchen, and on his fucking mesa, on his kitchen table, he sees a Malcolm with a knife in his heart, or in his chest. I don't remember exactly if it was in his heart, but he's like dead. He's gone.
Yes.
And he's like, what the fuck? And I think he gets a text, right? Like he gets a text message.
Yeah, that's what I was going to pull up. Hold on. Oh, yes. So after all of this is happening, he disposes of the body, and he's just like, you know what? Malcolm, acceptable loss. Whatever. Put it behind us.
He's like, but for real.
I swear these. This time, yeah. This time for real, though.
Pinky promise to myself.
He has like a
Pinky promise to Will, to Jonathan, to Joe.
He has like a sign that's like on his, like near his desk, and it just says like, one day without murders, and he erases it and changes it back to 0.
He's like, damn. Okay, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day, guys.
But he gets a text, but it's not like a text message. It's through an app called Evanesce. And the text he gets is anonymously sent, and it says, "You surprised me handling Malcolm like that." And he's like, who the fuck? Who the fuck? And the text disappears. So it's like kind of like, who the fuck be texting me? And then they continue and they say, here, I thought when I left him on your table that you'd go down for my sins.
Yeah. So pretty much this season, or this first part of the season, Joe's the one who's being stalked, because we've seen him stalk many people before, and now it's his turn to be stalked. And so, like we said, his true love is supposedly Marianne. And there is a moment in this first part where he was like, he was forced to, no, he did find her. He found her in Paris.
Yes.
And when he sees her, he's so delusional that he's like, oh my God. He's smiling so bright. He's like, this is it. This is our, moment. She's going to be so happy to see me again. But she looks utterly terrified, and she runs away because she knows that he killed his ex-wife Love, and so she runs away. He chases after her, and they end up in like this obscure fucking, I don't even know, it's like an abandoned place, and she's like begging him like, please, you know, I have a daughter, Juliet, like I need to get back to her. And he's just like confused. He's like, Marianne, babe, I would never hurt you, babe. Like, that was the old me. That was the old me.
That was Joe. This is Jonathan, Marianne. He would never, maybe once, but like, after that, maybe never.
Kills. No kills under this belt, babe. And so he lets her go.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is another moment where he like feels like he's forced to, I guess, abduct her. But when this flashback is happening, he lets her go again. So she gets on a train. She's set to go off back to her daughter, Juliet. And he's just like, this is how I show that I really love her, by letting her go.
And so that's why he moved to London, because he was so ready to just start a new life and leave all this behind, like you said. But with this death, with the death of Malcolm, it kind of parallels with what he is reading at his work, which are like a bunch of whodunits, which is a genre.
Yeah, the murder mysteries.
Yeah, a genre of murder mysteries where there are several people and it usually happens in a locked room and you have to kind of guess who did it. And he like takes a lot of ideas from that. So it's like, okay, it's always who you don't expect. So he's like reading a bunch of like, I think he reads an Agatha Christie book too. Like he reads hella shit.
Yeah, he does.
To kind of like figure out who did this. So
yeah, and he has like a favorite student. Her name's Nadia. And she's always talking to him, but she kind of like notices that he's reading these types of books. And she's really smart. So she's the one who's dropping hints like, oh, it's never the person who does this. It's never the person who does that. And so he kind of like looks to her for advice too, where he's like, okay, so hypothetically speaking, if so-and-so would happen, who do you think it would be? And so they kind of have like a friendship happening.
Oh,
but she is his student as well.
By the way, rest in paradise, Malcolm. But Malcolm also had a girlfriend at the time. Had a girlfriend at the time whose name is Kate. And Kate is next door neighbors with Joe. Well, they're like across the street. They can see each other through the windows. And Joe had like a little moment at the beginning where he was like, oh, hello you, but he like cuts himself off and he's like,
oh shit.
Not again, that's Joe, I'm Jonathan. But
he's like, that's some Joe bullshit.
I know,
not Jonathan.
No, Jonathan, new man, he would never. But he it like knows her and tries to like talk to her just to like, I guess, figure out more with the situation, but she's kind of cold towards him. She's very like guarded, and anytime she tries to talk to him, she always like one-ups him. So just be like, oh, you're really talking to me because of this? You know, and there's even a part where she gets jumped by some people and he comes to protect her and immediately says like, don't tell the police my work visas are crap. Like, please don't tell them. And then in a situation where
she's getting mugged.
Yes.
She's getting mugged. I mean, I guess technically it's still getting jumped, but she's not getting like beat up.
Yeah. But in a situation where she felt betrayed by him, she hella like threw him to the police. So that's just the type of person.
And she's also, and like you said, she's very cold. And she always makes these comments where it's like, oh, you fucking Americans. Because, you know, Joe is more like emotional in comparison to her, and she's very much a workaholic, and so she's a little bit of a mystery, but we immediately see that she's very successful because she takes her work very seriously.
But so back to Nadia, the student. Nadia's first hint to Jonathan, is that if you're reading a whodunit, a murder mystery, your first suspect is usually your second victim. And that is like his first clue. So he is sent off to go like to an art show. And I don't remember who the second victim was.
I have him down. So the first victim was Malcolm. The second victim was Simon.
So Simon was very suspicious. He seemed to not care that Malcolm had died. And Joe was like, it's obviously him. Oh my God, look at him holding a fucking art gallery right when his fucking friend died. And it's weird because like the art gallery happens and there's one point where it seems like someone is terrorizing the art gallery, but he's just like, no, it's part of the show. Don't you guys get it? It's part of art.
Yeah. This is art, guys.
And Joe is
someone like splashing paint on my beautiful portrait is art. Like, that's beautiful.
But it seems like nothing's gonna happen. And there's a point where Joe just goes outside and sits on a bench and goes to sleep. Which I was so confused on why he did that.
Because he was hoping to catch his stalker because he knew that his stalker would be around the area. And so he was in his mind, he was like, oh, I'm going to protect Simon then because I know that my stalker is going to be around here.
Mm-hmm.
But bitch fell asleep. And so when he fell asleep, he was woken up by sirens. And then he was like, fuck, I was too late.
Oops. Yeah, I guess 02 Goldberg, I guess. I guess nothing for me.
He's like, damn, I mean, at least I kind of tried. I mean, I am still cold from the cold bench.
Oh my God. But I think after this death, immediately he goes home and they have posted like articles all over his wall.
Oh my God.
And it's all articles of like the death of Guinevere, which is Gwen from season 1, the death of dude, I don't fucking remember the second.
Love. And it's pretty much all of the kills that he's done.
And
and Peach.
And yes.
And so it's like all of the people that he's killed and it's all just like laid out in articles in front of him. So he knows that someone has figured him out. And so he gets another text and it pretty much says like, oh, hello, Joe.
Am I right? Are these articles all about you? This you, Joe? This you?
Joe, this you?
And at this point, like, he's like, he does not want to be part of this at all. So Joe keeps writing like, I'm Jonathan Moore. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Who the fuck is Joe? That's a stupid name, first of all. But it's like,
I'm offended that you would even think that my name is Joe.
But he writes like, come on, Joe, tell me the truth. And Joe gets fucking like, he gets paranoid to the point where he like changes his locks. He checks his house to make sure nothing's bugged. And he's like, okay, there's no way anyone's gonna fucking break into my home. Wait, I wanted to talk about the scene immediately after that because I really like how anything he's teaching in his class always kind of connects to what is happening in the show. Because after his whole fucking freak out, they cut to him with his students and they're talking about Edgar Allan Poe's story Man of the Crowd. Have you seen that one? Or have you read that one?
I don't think so, which is surprising, but I know. It didn't like come to my, I don't know.
I know you're a Poe head, so. But
I am a Poe head, but I guess I'm a fake Poe head.
So they reference Poe's Man of the Crowd, which is a story where a narrator sees a random stranger at a cafe and becomes obsessed with them. And they follow the stranger through London. And he just remains interested in the person. And the question he poses on his class is like, what can you tell about this person? It's like, oh, he's psychotic. He's a stalker. But then
he's crazy.
I think it's Nadia who's just like, no, that's love. Like he loves this person enough to like want to see it through. And it's funny because like Jonathan is like, no, Nadia, that's weird. But Joe is like, you know what, Nadia? You're onto something. Keep going, Nadia.
You know what, Nadia? Let me go find Marianne again. Hold on.
I thought that was a really nice conversation that they had. But it continues with Joe's hunt to see who is the fucking killer. And I think his stalker texts him and is just like, hey, Kate is looking kind of killable. I don't know. She's just been looking really good lately. And
I know. There's something about her that just makes me want to freaking like take my knife and put it on her head or something.
I don't know, just a crazy thought, I guess. You know, crazy 1 a.m. thoughts. But he is now like, okay, I have to protect Kate. And he, like, I think they approach each other and she's like, leave me the fuck alone. And she leaves and he, like, to a cafe, and he follows her all the way there. And it's just like, hey, I'm sorry I was mean to you about the whole police thing. I know the police just wanted to do their jobs. But you know what? There's an actual fucking person out there killing people, and you're kind of acting like a fucking damsel in distress. Like, you're just kind of like putting yourself in situations.
Red fucking flag. You're here alone at the cafe?
Yeah, you know.
Are you dumb?
You know, me, Jonathan Moore, I wouldn't do anything to you, of course. But if I was Joe Goldberg, not saying I am, but like if I was, I'd kill you like 14 different ways right now. You gotta be safe about this.
Oh, that's so romantic.
I would say 15, but we're not there yet. But they like they're like so like tense, like their friendship. But she's like, okay, fine, let me go show you something. And she walks him to like in like a park, I guess, and they just fucking have sex, dude. They just go for it.
Yeah, I think she, okay, because she was dating Malcolm, you know, R.I.P. Malcolm. And Joe knows that Malcolm was, you know, having, you know, the time of his life. I think they had an open relationship, if I remember correctly. So he knows that she's sad, but she's not like that sad. And I think that her sleeping with him was, the way that I interpreted it was that maybe she thought that that's why he was following her, because he just wanted to sleep with her. And so she was like, oh, he'll just leave me alone if I just sleep with him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I could understand that being the reason.
Because she's not very good with her emotions, so I'm not even sure if she even really liked him, or she was just kind of like, nah, he's kind of cute, whatever.
Yeah, I'm okay with him. Jonathan's kind of a lame name. I wish it was Joe. But I guess it'll have to do.
Oh my god. It's not even that different from each other.
It'd be funny in the future. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. In the future, they like get married and he's just kind of like, you know, babe, this is kind of crazy, but I've always liked the name Joe. So like, what if I change it just for like fucking shits and giggles? And also Goldberg.
Can you stop calling me Jonathan?
It's kind of a good last name if you don't want me saying.
I just feel like it rains fortune, babe, you know?
Goldberg. Oh my god, that's funny. But
yeah, that would have been funny.
After they have sex, dude, he gets a text message from his stalker, and the stalker just like fucking goes off and is like, hey, I've been watching you protecting air quotes, and I've figured you out. I think you kill to protect the things you love, and Kate's not love yet, but she did help me see your pattern. And
yeah,
then they write, you like it, how it feels to kill. The life goes out of their eyes, the power. Bet it makes your dick hard. Bet it's hard right now just thinking about it. And dude, how did you feel reading that?
I was like, what the fuck? Who the fuck is this?
Excuse me?
I was so confused.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to be like, excuse me?
Excuse me?
Joe's
what?
a murderer, not a pervert. Thank you.
Dude,
even though he's both.
He didn't masturbate this season. Dude. He's always masturbating in public, but not this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's grown as a person. No, because that was Joe.
Maybe.
That was Joe.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
Even when he changed his name, he was still masturbating in public. That weirdo.
Dude, not once a hand on that dick. Not once.
No, not once. He was reformed for a good season. I don't know. I was pretty confused. I wasn't sure where this was going.
At this point,
you know?
I thought it was going to be like, because I was so sure that the person who was the killer at this point, well, actually, no, kind of like at the end of part 1, I thought it was Lady Phoebe's boyfriend, husband-ish. I thought it was that guy.
Adam?
I thought it was Adam. I thought he was being a bitch.
Adam looks so...
He's a fucking child.
I don't know.
Dude,
Yeah, a man-child.
I thought it was him because, like, I don't know, like, this whole, like, perversion with murder. Like, I know those two often connect, but I thought this season was going to be more Joe, like, you're better than this, babe. I know.
Look at me.
I need to be honest.
Babe.
I need to be honest with myself. And then he like fucking takes off a mask and it's still his face, but they're like, Joe? Joe Goldberg? I knew it.
Oh my God. You killed your wife? Oh my God, Joe.
Oh my gosh. But I thought it was going to be him. So at this point, I was like, there's someone else who's more fucked up than Joe. Like I was so sure that was where it was going. And I'll be honest with you, this whole part 1, when it got up to that point, I was so fucking frustrated because I hated the fact that we were thrown into this season with fucking 80 characters. And I'm like, okay, now I have to learn all this shit. Like, I don't care about any of these bitches. Why do I have to learn about them and this fucking random ass person?
Yeah.
I was so turned off at this point.
A lot of characters. I agree with you for the most part, but I did think that it was interesting that this season was very different from the other ones, because in the other ones, you know, it's very like, okay, he's obsessed with this one girl and he'll do anything to, you know, keep this idealized version of whatever life he wants to build with this person. And so I liked that finally there's something different. Like, okay, now he's the one who's being stalked. And I was here for like, because there's a lot of also like social commentary with like these rich bitches, you know?
Dude.
And so I liked that. Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up about like the social commentary, because immediately after that text conversation, I actually think it's in the next episode. Joe shows up to like a bar where all of the rich friends are at. And the police show up and are like, hey, we need to talk to you. But every rich person is looking at him like, it was him, wasn't it? You know, like so fucking snob. Like, and as soon as like he walks out and looks at them again, they're still staring at him like that because they want someone to blame and to hate. And as soon as they figure out it's not him, they like, oh my gosh, this is our friend Jonathan. Of course it's Jonathan. He never did anything bad. And I fucking hated that.
Yeah, they're very two-faced. I hated it too because they just couldn't see past like their own like fucking bank statements, you know? And so when there was someone hunting them down, you know, I forgot what the name was for the killer. Like they gave the killer a name. I forgot the name.
Eat the Rich Killer.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. They all just kind of assumed like, oh, well, of course it would be him. But just to fast forward, so he does have to go on a trip, right? He goes on a trip because Lady Phoebe was like, I need to get away from all this. This is also stressful. Yes. And so she makes like a trip. And so he goes along because he thinks like, okay, best way for me to figure out who this person is to become close to this like circle. And while he's here, there is another murder that happens. And how did you feel about him walking in on Kate holding the knife? And she was like, sitting next to the dead body of Gemma, who I think Gemma was like the worst character.
Yeah. Gemma, don't rest
worst character in the sense of like, oh, like she was just a bad person.
Yeah, she wasn't a great person.
Oh my God.
She wasn't a great person. I was fucking confused. And honestly, I'll be super honest. Explain it to me later when we get to part 2. I'm still kind of confused how that happened. How she just ended up on the floor holding the knife. But Joe,
I think she just walked in on her already dead body and she just kind of like, I don't know why she would pick the knife up, but she did.
Yeah, maybe stab her a few times just for funsies.
I know. She's like, you know what? She's already stabbed. And I am mad at her because of the way that she was bullying the wait staff. But yeah, that was that. I mean, I think things were just happening to throw us off. And that was one of them.
I was so confused because I was throughout the whole thing, I didn't think it was Kate, because that's usually how murder mysteries are. The person you think it most likely is, or like the one who has the attitude of like, yeah, I could kill a bitch, isn't someone who would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was her. But the fact that Joe was just so quick to be like, I got you. Let's just take her out, you know, cut her into little fucking pieces and just like take care of this shit.
I know, seriously. But there was a moment where he started to doubt her, and he started to spiral in the way that he spiraled with Love when Love killed the other character. I forgot her name. So he was like already like, oh my God, wait, what if she's also crazy? So like it was still there, but I forgot why he just ended up trusting her. Or maybe he just was like, I'll just question her later.
I think she snapped him out of it, where she was just kind of like, you really think I did this? And then he's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I do.
But after this, Joe goes on a walk with one of the characters. I don't remember who he walks with.
It was Roald. It was the guy who had a crush on Kate.
Dude, Roald was ready to shoot Joe.
It was out of jealousy, no? It was just jealousy, yeah. I think it's because Joe is obviously a poor bitch, and he's like, whoa, I have all of these mansions, babe, and you're gonna pick him a teacher?
I know. You know how much teachers make? Shit!
But yeah, so he's hanging out with Roald, but he's also hanging out with Roald because he is assuming, oh, this is the guy who's been texting me this whole time. Like he thinks that it's him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So he's walking with him, and then Roald was gonna shoot him, but then Kate shows up and kind of like interrupts them. But let's just skip to, you know, that part. So closer to the end of part 1, he's with Roald, and no, they find Gemma's body, right? And so everyone's hunting Joe down because they're like, oh my God, it's him, because she was onto him, you know, because Gemma was over here drunk and saying like, you know, it's a little interesting that ever since you showed up, we like people, the rich started dying pretty much. And so she was accusing him already. And so them finding her dead body, they're like, oh my God, it had to have been Joe. And so now Roald, it was like, going after him and hunting him down, but then Joe gets knocked down, and Roald gets knocked down too. And when they wake up, or when Joe wakes up, because he wakes up first, he wakes up in like a dungeon looking thing. I don't even know what the fuck it is, a wine cellar probably, I don't know, it's underground. And so he wakes up, he's chained to like the wall, very Saw style, you know, but it's his hands, not his feet. And so he sees that it's Reese, you know, the author that he had that connection with. And Reese is just like telling him, okay, I have an idea. Yes, it's me. Hey, babe. So I have an idea. We're going to frame everything on Roald and move on from this, you know, like we'll see what happens afterwards. And Joe is so turned off by this, like this whole thing, because he can't believe that it's Reese who's behind all of these murders, because like I said, he had this connection with him, you know, he read his book, he was like, you and I had similar lives or similar experiences. But Reese tells him like, you have to do this or else just die here with him, pretty much. And I think for a second, Joe does think about not killing him, but like escaping and then leaving Roald there, because the whole place gets set on fire, and Roald is like pleading, like, please, like, you have to help me, you have to get me out of here. And he does end up helping him like with the chains. And so Reese is already gone, he's left, and they end up escaping this cellar. And Kate is actually the one who opens the door, like the latch. And she pulls them out. Yeah. And so now he's like, oh shit, this whole time it was Reese who's been my stalker, and who's also like obsessed with killing, because, you know, he's like thinking to himself that Reese was the one who killed these 3 people.
And it's crazy to him because this is someone who is a very big politician in London.
Yeah, because he's running for mayor. Okay, so the way that part 1 ends is pretty much Joe is watching the TV and he sees Reese. He's having an interview, and in the interview, he's talking about the Eat the Rich kills, and he's like, this isn't okay, guys. It's not cool. These are my friends. And so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna run for mayor or whatever. And Joe's just like, oh my God, what? The mayor's gonna be a killer. And so in his mind, in his like super heroic mind, he's just like, oh my God, I have to bring him down. I have to, because I'm a hero now.
Oh my God, dude. We forgot to talk about someone who I really enjoy as a character. Oh, well, actually, scratch that. So with part 1, those first 5 episodes that came out, because remember, it came out in 2 parts. How were you feeling? How were you feeling? Tell me, run me through it.
Okay. So let me just say something very quickly. So I had seen the first episode, and then after that, I went, like the day after, I went to work, and I was talking to to my coworkers about the first episode because they had seen it too. And I was like telling them, and I don't know if I said this the last time that we talked about you. I don't know. But I was getting so tired. I was getting so tired of going through the exact same type of story, seeing this white man get away with all of these fucking murders. I was getting over it, And when the first episode ended, I told my coworkers, I was like, I just want... Okay, hold on. Let me backtrack. Hold on. Okay, so in the first episode, he gets rid of Malcolm's body, right? And if you remember, when he's getting rid of Malcolm's body, he still throws up in response to this, right? Which obviously would make sense, of course. But after the 4th season, I just wanted to see a progression of Joe get to the point where it's like, oh, this is my new normal. Like, this is so normal. It's like, whatever. Another day, another body, And so in my head, I was like, he's not even there yet. And it's been 4 seasons. And I was like, oh my God, like, how many seasons do I have to deal with for him to finally be like the psychopath that I know he is? Yeah. Because there's still people who watch this show and think, oh no, but he does this because he's in love and it makes sense. And there's someone that I talked to today who was like, I'll finish the thought when we finish talking about the whole show, but they pretty much said, like, for a while I was like rooting for him because even in like season 3, I still think that he was doing it for love. No. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, he's not. He's just handsome. That's why you guys are falling for it. And he's like really good at manipulating.
Well, he's a charming character.
The audience, which is great. Sure, I guess. I mean, he doesn't have a toe, so how charming can you be without a toe? And so pretty much my main complaint was that I didn't feel like we were getting a progression of Joe going from, the first season of him like being surprised that he could even kill anybody at all to, like finally being this psychopath that I knew he was going to be, right? So that was my complaint. So when I was watching the first part and, seeing that it was a politician who was behind all of these fucking murders, I was like, okay, not the vibe that I was going for, but okay, I'm here for the ride, I guess. I was still interested to see where the season would end, but I was like not super excited about it,
Yeah, I would agree with you. I didn't even think about that whole thing with him throwing up. The only time I could think of where he seemed used to it was when he was clearing the body for Love in season 3 for her first kill. Like that's the only one where it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm used to it, gotta break her fingers, you know how that should go, just like speaking about it very casually. It would have been nice to see that he was at that point already, because he was. I mean, he had killed so many people by that point. Or
gotten rid of so many bodies at this point.
What bothered me, and we did have this talk before, where you in season 3, Yahira had hoped that Joe wouldn't have been the one that made it. Like, it would have been better if it were Love who had made it, and season 4 would have been following Love. Something like that. I don't mind that Joe made it, but what bothers me, and at this point I was so certain that someone else was the killer. What bothered me was the fact that it's just a guy where no matter what he does, death just follows. Death and murder just follows. And I fucking hated that he was just put in the middle of this, and all of a sudden random strangers who he had never met, he's piecing together all their relationships, and it's like, this doesn't have anything to do with you, Joe. You don't need to be a part of this. You can fucking leave. Like, I did not care. Dude, I did not care for anyone except fucking...
And I know how much you hate when characters who don't need to be in the situation are in the
fucking
situation.
hate
You know what
it!
I mean? Like, when it's not actually there. Yeah, you do. So I totally get that.
Oh my God. It drives me insane. The only character I tolerated was fucking Lady Phoebe till the end. That's a ride or die type bitch. I fucking love her.
Queen. Yeah, she's a queen.
It was so funny because we didn't talk about it, but in part 1, she was having boyfriend issues, and she talks to Joe about it, and it's like, maybe just like get into the type of kinks that he likes. And so she just like goes up to him and is like, babe, I want to take it to the next level. Let me fucking pee on you. And he's just like, yeah, sure. And he's like laying down, and his face looks all scrunched up and disgusted. And she's like, babe.
And he's like closing his eyes.
She's like, babe, I was literally gonna pee on you to show you how much I love you, and you don't even want to open your eyes? Do you want me to peg you or something? Like, oh, she's so funny, dude. She's so, because she's the
I love her.
Stereotypical rich, but the only difference between her and her friends is how kind she is. But she's the only character I liked. I hated everyone else. I hated Kate for the first half. I thought she was like fucking insufferable. Yeah. She fucking sucked.
I didn't really like her either. I mean, she's okay at the end, but yeah, I get you.
But
so we need to fly through the second part of the 4th season. I don't even know where we should start because there's so much that happened.
Well, I know in part 2, now he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe this politician. It's got me wrapped around his finger.
I can't believe.
And the politician is like, because I think at this point, Joe's kind of like, okay, we got to stop. Like, we got to stop. And it's like, no, we got to keep going. We just started. And
yeah, because he gets rid of another body for him, if I remember correctly. And he's just like, okay, after this, for real now, I'm done. And the guy's like, what do you mean we're done? Like, there's so many other people that we need to get rid of, especially Kate's dad, who is like the big bad.
Yeah,
and Kate has brought up her dad before, and she wants nothing to do with him because her dad is just like just the businesses that he has are just not her style. And she just doesn't want to be involved with him.
Kate and Joe, this entire season, are like in a relationship where both of them kind of know the other one deserves better. And they're constantly like breaking up. And it's always one of them's like, you deserve more. No, you deserve more. You're so much better. I'm so broken. But they both kind of come to this agreement where it's like, we both did shitty things in the past, illegal things in the past, but we still want to be there for each other. So let's be there for each other. And that's kind of their whole relationship. So when Reese, the politician, tells Joe, hey, you have to kill her dad, he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not killing someone's dad. Nah. But then at the same time, he sees Kate's dad for the first time, and he's so charming, but at the same time so like intimidating, because I think the first time they meet,
and
yes, the first
dangerous.
time they meet, it's like, oh, this is my boyfriend Jonathan, and the man shakes Jonathan's hand and is like, oh, hi, Joe. And it's like, oh my fucking God, he knows who the fuck I am.
He's like, don't ask me about my ex-wife, okay?
I know.
She fell asleep. It's fine.
Don't ask me about my toes. I'm sensitive.
I'm self-conscious.
But this season is just so much back and forth with Kate's dad being like, you got to kill Reese for me. And Reese being like, no, I knew he was going to say that. No, you got to kill him for me.
He's the bad one. And then the politician's
like, no, you know, I knew he was going to say that when I said that. So now you got to kill Reese. And it's just a bunch of back and forth. And it's so like exhausting. At one point, Joe is just like, you know what? I am going to just put a camera right here and film Reese coming to my house and a confession to his fucking sins. And I'm just going to end it there. He's just going to have to confess. And as soon as Reese comes over, it's just kind of like, oh my God, you're taping me. You're wired. I knew it. And he like takes everything off. And
I knew I couldn't trust you,
I thought
Joe.
after we killed our seventh person, we'd be good. We'd be Gucci, but apparently not.
I guess we need another 5.
I think at the point where this is happening, Reese is like, you need to go kill the dad. Go kill the dad. But then fucking the dad is like, but don't you want your old life back? I can erase everything that's ever happened to you. Everything. And you can live happily with Kate. And Joe's like, fucking sold. Goes over.
He's like, damn, you should have started with that. I would have like saved myself this fucking headache.
And he goes over and finds Reese. And
where he lives.
Yes. He finds where Reese lives.
He shows up. He sees him having a fight with his wife, but the wife leaves. And then he pulls up at the house and then he pretty much like ties him up in the basement or whatever. And but the most important part is that Reese is telling him, or had told him before that he had Marianne. He was like, oh, you think you let her go? No, babe. I actually have her. And so that's another thing that really, I guess, motivates him. And so when he ties him up, he's like, you know, pulling on the ties, and he's like, where is Marianne? Where's Marianne? And Reese is like,
I don't even fucking know you. Who the fuck is Joe? Who's Marianne?
Who the fuck are you?
When this was happening, because he basically, I feel like he like zip ties his dick and whatever. Good for him.
What? I don't remember.
Yeah, he like does a bunch of things to his penis with a zip tie, and I'm just like, okay, leave to the imagination, I guess. But
I don't remember that. But wow, damn, Joe, you're wild.
Reese dies, but it's weird because he dies, and then Joe is like stands back and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I killed him. That wasn't my intention. And he turns around and Reese is standing right next to him. But there's also a dead Reese on the chair. So it's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm hallucinating. And he thinks he's going crazy. Yeah. And Reese is just kind of like, no, that's Reese. That's actually Reese. And he was telling the truth. Reese did not know you. I was so sure that he had just hired an actor. That's where I thought this was headed. Like, I thought...
You mean Reese?
Yeah, I thought politician Reese was like, let me hire a second Reese. Raise him like my own. And then get him killed, penis and all. So then when it goes to episode...
No penis and all.
Penis not included. Like batteries. Penis sold separately. But...
Oh my God.
Marianne, like, remember, Marianne was kidnapped by Reese, but now this Reese is dead, and there's a Reese in a suit saying that Reese was telling the truth, and we're automatically taken to Marianne when she was kidnapped. But instead of like this whole thing happening with Reese, the one who had kidnapped her was Joe, and we're seeing flashbacks of Joe basically holding her in an apartment and like just keeping her captive, feeding her, giving her sleeping pills, and like just keeping her there. And there's nothing that she could do. But it's weird because this Joe is so like unlike himself. Like there's a moment where
he's pretty much like spaced out.
Yes. And he seems very like despondent. Like he's so not motivated by love anymore. That was like his whole thing, but it seems like he's kind of in a routine and in a daze the entire time. And I thought with my 2 brain cells working real hard, I thought this was an actor. I did not think this was the real Joe. I thought this was just a guy who looked like Joe.
Oh my God, you think that everyone hired an actor?
Yeah, I just thought there were a lot of actors in this. But because
I mean, there are, but not
not the way you think. No, but I believed in that because there was even a part where after Joe puts Marianne in the cage, they're like looking at each other, and Joe is looking at her and is just like, I'm not Joe, and leaves. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, he was such a fucking bitch too. He basically fed her like pad thai every single day. Or whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. But it was the same fucking food every single day. And at one point, he just stopped going. Like, he just stopped feeding her. And she was living off of crackers and then realized that she had made it to her end. There was not much food left. And
yeah.
He went in there, and at one of the last times he had given her food, he also left an entire thing of pills also, because she used to be addicted and he was trying to get her to relapse.
Well, no, he left the pills because he accidentally broke her arm and he wasn't going to take her to the doctor.
I thought there was more to it. Really? He wasn't like, she wouldn't struggle.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because remember he accidentally like pushed her or dropped her or something. I can't remember, and it like broke her arm.
Oh, you're right. But
because he did also give her like a little sling.
Yes. So at this point, Joe, present time Joe, he's like, what the fuck? I don't remember kidnapping Marianne. And now this figment of his imagination, Reese, is like following him around and is like, yeah, I didn't kill anyone. It was all you. Like, you were trying to frame me, but I'm just a figment of your imagination. I don't know what you're saying. Like, I would never do that. I'm a politician.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then it's revealed that he's never actually spoken to Reese. Like, all of the moments that he thought he was talking to Reese, he was actually just talking to himself. And even when he had set up that camera and Reese had supposedly caught him, he looked back at the footage and he was just talking to himself the entire time.
Dude, this is the craziest we've ever seen Joe. How did you feel about this reveal?
But it like gets it gets worse though. So we're not even there yet. So pretty much at this point, there was a reason why Nadia started to suspect Joe. I think it was because he just happened to always be in these like moments of like heroism, like with, him saving Roald. And then there was another one.
It was that, and I'm was not entirely also sure the fact what that was. Like, she suspected something, and then she brought up like, hey, have you read my story that I sent you? And she made like a comment of like, how did you feel about this one scene? Which it wasn't in her book, but he lied and was like, yeah, it was good, but the character was kind of flat. And she was just like, why would he be lying? That's so weird. So she decides to snoop around his office, and that's
I feel like there was another reason, though.
A book about torture.
I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, I just don't remember what the reason was, but there was something else. But it doesn't matter. So anyway, she breaks into his office, finds a key, finds somehow where the key belongs, and she pretty much finds the cage that Marianne is in. And Marianne tells her, like, you can't call the police. You can't get the police involved, because anytime that they get involved, he just gets away with it. Like, he'll just start a new life. Like, he's done this many times before. And Nadia doesn't really understand. Like, she's still in shock, because yes, she did suspect her teacher, but at the same time, seeing this girl locked up, I don't think was what she was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's just like, okay, I'm going to go get you food. Well, actually, she did give her like a little snack, but she was like, okay, I'm going to go figure this out. And eventually they do come up with a plan, but we don't actually hear the plan. And they do kind of mention that he pretty much needs to die, right?
Yes.
And Nadia at first is like, okay, I guess I'll do it. You know what? I'll do it. But Marianne looks at her and she's like, you wouldn't do that, And so she's like, I'll do it. Marianne says that.
Yeah.
Marianne is determined to be the one to kill Joe because she wants to get back to her daughter, Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, when Nadia finds Marianne, Joe shows up finally after who knows how long he's left her there without food. And so Nadia hides in like this little corner area, and Joe is just so in shock. Like, he's so shocked when he sees Marianne there because, you know, he had created this entire other reality where he let her go. And so he goes up to her and he's just like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm going to get you out of there, but not like right now. Like, I'll get you out of there though. I promise. And Marianne is just like confused. She's just like, okay. Like, she's just like, yeah, you know, cause Guinevere did the same thing where like they kind of play along with him, like, yeah, I know you would never do this to me. You wouldn't want to hurt me. Like, of course not. You're so nice, Joe. Mm-hmm. And so Joe gives her food and he's just like, I'll come back and then I'll let you go. First thing, I think tomorrow, I'm not entirely sure. Just like first thing, whatever. And so he leaves. And after this moment, he's like pretty much getting ready to leave. Like, he's getting his like he's just getting things in order pretty much. And so he has this moment with Kate where he's like, babe, can I call you babe? I'm so sorry, babe. And what happened was that Kate realized that her dad controlled more of her life than she had thought. She thought that she had cultivated this life for herself, you know, this, you know, where she ran her art businesses and all that. But her dad revealed to her, like, girl, no, all of that was thanks to me. I even know your period. Like, I have your period tracked on my phone. Like, I know everything about you.
Do you need a pad right now? It's your heaviest day.
Like, that is so fucking weird. And so she is so upset by this. And she reveals it to Joe, and Joe's, you know, Joe can't help himself. He's like, okay, I am going to leave, but I also love her. You know, like, I love her. And so he decides to attack the dad. And I think that the discussion that he has with the dad is so interesting because even the dad tells him, like, I mean, yeah, I'm a little controlling, but I love her. Aren't you doing the exact same thing though? And Joe never fucking realizes it. He never accepts it when he has these moments of someone saying, like, you're doing the same thing that I am. He never accepts it. And so he's like, no, but I'm better. I'm freeing her though. And so he does end up killing the dad, and he like fucking frames it in a way where it was because of his bodyguard. Because he also kills the bodyguard. He does it in a way where it would appear that the bodyguard did it for money.
Yes.
Right? And then after this moment, the timeline might be off, okay? Watch it.
No, you're fine.
But after this moment, he goes to Marianne. Marianne is dead on the floor because, so the last conversation that he had with Marianne, he had gotten her phone, which was stashed somewhere else, and he had texted the grandma because the grandma was the one who had Juliet, her daughter. And the grandma reacted in a way that was like, oh my God, you're using again. I knew it. You know what? You're never going to see Juliet again. And so Joe knew that Juliet was all that she had to live for. And so she was so upset the last time that they spoke. So when he goes to her in this present day moment, he sees that she's dead and all of the pills are gone, like the pills that he had given her for the pain.
Yes.
And so he just assumes that, oh, she OD'd. And so he goes off and he doesn't bury her because I think she leaves like a note, right?
Yes.
For him, but I don't know what she said, but it's something to do with Juliet. I can't remember. But anyway, he leaves her in a bench just there, forgotten, whatever, so that when she's found, her daughter will know for sure that, you know, she's dead and she's not just left wondering if she'll ever come back.
Can I bring something up?
And so yeah, go ahead.
While this is going on, I'm not sure if it happens before or after, but Joe has like a dream because he hella drugs himself with like Lady Phoebe's medicine, and he goes to sleep because he's trying to like turn off his like Reese figment of his imagination that keeps talking to him. And he has this dream where he had already set, or he was going to set Marianne free, and accidentally poisons her and forgets the lock code. And he goes through like this crazy, like he sees her and then he sees Gwen and then he sees Love and he's seeing like all of these girls that he has fucked with and the reason, like him being the reason that they're dead. And they're kind of telling him like, you're going towards the right path. Come on, you got to go towards the right path. It's going to tell you what you need to do. And the last one he sees is Love, which I think is really good because that was really the only character that understood him at a deeper level than the other girls. And Love is just like, okay, you made it. You know what you have to do. And she's like handing him a key. Well, at first he thinks it's a key. And he's like, oh my God, thank you so much. I can save her. And she's just like, it's not the key. And when he looks down, it's a gun. And I think he like points it at himself. Or yeah. He has a moment where he's looking at it. And she says, somebody at the end has to die in order for this to end well. And then she's the one who holds the gun to his head. And he wakes up. And this is his first time having an ideation of like killing himself.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to bring that up because with the whole what you were saying with Marianne being set out and like just seen as someone who overdosed and died, like the dream had happened first and then that had happened. He had set Marianne free the way that he knew how. She had already killed herself by the time he was there, unfortunately. But well, to his understanding. But when he finishes that, he's already like, okay, that was all I had to do. I can't keep ruining people's lives. I have to end it.
Yeah. And this entire time he's seeing Reese still. Because Reese is kind of like that psycho side of him. Like that's what Reese is representing. Yes. And Reese is telling him like, no, you just have to accept it. Accept who you really are. And Joe is, you know, he's in a turmoil. He's just like, I don't want this. I don't want to be this person. And so he goes off to the pier and he's having this conversation with Reese and he just kind of accepts that the only way, like you said with Love, the only way for this to end is for someone to die. And he's like, well, someone's gonna die. And so he pushes Reese into the water. But they have a hug first. Falls. They have a sad hug. Oh, I know. They did hug, which is weird though, because it's himself.
But he looks at Reese with such love in his eyes. And Reese kind of looks back at him and he's like laughing because he's like, oh my God, we did it. And he just throws this fucking imaginary politician over the bridge.
Don't you have one? I think everyone should have
one.
One.
Of course. I have the governor just here with me. But like, it's so weird to me. And you know what? We'll get into. Well, we can get into it right now if you want. It's so weird to me that this is the same Joe from season 1. Like the fact that he fixated not on like a girl, but instead on like an entire fucking politician, that completely changes the type of like his pattern. Like it doesn't seem like the same Joe anymore. And I don't know what triggered him to go this far, you know?
I think it had to do with the fact that when he had put Marianne in the cage, he hit his head. And that was kind of what started his whole, like you said, he wasn't really there anymore. And while he was with Marianne, he would be listening to Reese all the time. Like Reese was always on, you know, in the background, podcast, anything. Like he was always listening to him. And so he felt this connection to him at a state where he wasn't really mentally 100% there. And so I think that because he saw a little bit of himself in Reese's story, he saw like the crazy side of himself manifested into Reese, because maybe he just wanted to see someone else react the same way that he does, which is, you know, always murder. And I agree in a way. Like there was a lot of things that happened in the season where I was like, I don't know, this feels kind of out of character. But of course, like him hallucinating the entire time kind of saves it, because it's like, okay, well, he's still crazy then. He's just hallucinating. But if you remember, in all of the other seasons, he's still, And even in this season, he still thinks that he's a good guy. He doesn't have any accountability. He's just like, dude, no, babe, I'm the hero in this story.
I was so shocked, too, because when he throws fake Reese off of the bridge, he goes there, like, down with him. And he's like, he goes on, like, this entire speech, like, you know, they say when you're killing yourself, this is, like, a very trigger warning, they say when you do that, you regret it immediately. And he felt that, but he was already so deep in. If they had ended it there with him actually dying, I feel like in a way it kind of ends the cycle. And just like to catch up to this point, Nadia had gotten Marianne out. They like had planned everything. She wasn't actually dead. She's off to live her own life. Everything seemed like it was like all the plots were like ending, and he had killed himself.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I expected out of this, but there was still like fucking 20 minutes left, and I was like, oh shit, like what else is gonna happen? And he wakes up, and he's at a hospital, and the doctor's like, oh my god, like you died for like 2 whole minutes and you're here now and we're glad you're okay. There's someone here to see you. And Kate comes in and is just like, Joe, why didn't you tell me you were going through this? Like, you know, I'm here for you. And Joe's just like, I am so like, I guess he's like kind of relieved, but he's just so in shock that he's like, ask me anything and I will tell you about my past. I will tell you about what haunts me and the reason I was led to this. And he basically admits that he has killed people, and it's something that he has done. Like it's a continuous thing, and that his real name is Joe Goldberg. And Kate's just like, you know what? We all do kind of crazy shit sometimes. And it's fine, dude. She like forgives him.
Also, keep in mind that she knows that Joe killed her dad, but she thinks it's because her dad was the one who told him to kill Reese, and so therefore he would have something over Joe. So she's like, yeah, I get it. Because she's also, you know, responsible for deaths as well.
Yeah, she is. She has also done some pretty dark shit. So, at the end, just to like close up all of the ties, Nadia, the student who had basically kind of figured everything out, helped Marianne, figured out that Joe was a killer, had went with her boyfriend to Joe's house and was basically gonna like take pictures of all the evidence. And he
because she knows that any like serial killer has like a trinket box, and so she was like, I know he has one, I just have to find it.
Yes. And so then she takes a bunch of pictures of all the things that she finds. And when she's leaving, she's on the phone with her boyfriend and is like, come on, we gotta go. And Joe's out there, takes her phone, unlocks it, and goes through her phone and deletes everything. And he basically tells her like, hey, if you're smart, you will never talk about this again. Like, you're just gonna leave and just never talk about this again. And even on her way out, like while she's leaving, she sees her boyfriend's dead body like on the floor. And after this, Joe is kind of narrating over this and is like, yeah. And she was very smart. She never spoke about this again. Never again. And he is closing up the show and is like, here's how everyone's life ended. Lady Phoebe, she's fucking living it up. She's a teacher now in like a third world country. There are people who do great things with their money. There are people who become monsters. But, you know, everyone deserves a second chance, just like I did, bitch, after I died and came back. And then we're shown Joe again. It like, you know, without his beard, it's clean shaven Joe. And he's being interviewed by someone while he's sitting next to Kate. And they're like they're running a piece where it's like, Joe Goldberg, a person who escaped from his crazy wife, back out there in the world taking charge. And they're just basically, Joe and Kate are talking about how like they're gonna change the world, that the future is gonna be bright, and they're both hardworking and fighters, and they're gonna, you know, make positive change. And he has a moment where they talk about how they're both willing to fight for anything but for the good. Like, that's how he words it. And he has like this moment where he looks out the window, and I don't know if you noticed, while he was looking out and he was like, for the good of everything, he like had like a Superman moment where you can see the world, like, you know, the buildings, the streets and everything, and you see his reflection on the glass as if he's everyone's savior. And it's like, Joe.
But it's Reese though. His reflection is Reese.
Wait, oh my God. Wait, you're gonna scare me if it is.
Yeah. His reflection is Reese.
Hey, dude, I'm shaking.
Because this pretty much insinuates that he has accepted it. Because he even mentioned something about killing people. He was like, yeah, I'm used to that too. But at the end of the season, he actually looks into the camera.
His reflection isn't Reese.
Yes, it is.
Wait, give me a minute. Give me a timestamp. Oh, I see it. Ah, that's scary. Ew. I don't like that.
How did you not notice that?
I'm spooked. Ah! Why is he looking at him like that? Dude, that's...
Because he's Reese now.
That's so scary, dude. I actually spooked myself. I gave myself goosebumps. Ew.
Dude, what? How did you not notice this?
Ew, dude, imagine looking into the mirror and seeing someone else. Just fuck that shit.
Stop. Okay, so pretty much Joe is psycho. Like, he is finally accepted that he's a psychopath. Because that moment with Nadia, you like glossed pretty quickly with it, and I get it because we've been talking for a while now. But that moment with Nadia literally gave me fucking chills because he had no remorse. None. And he didn't tell her to leave. He pretty much told her, like, yeah, you figured it out. Of course you would. You're my smartest student. And when she falls like on the blood of her boyfriend. And, you know, there's a fucking knife there. And I think he hands it to her too. He's like, you're smart. You know that if you're smart, you're not going to talk. And she didn't talk. And I hated it because this whole moment, he was so smug about it because he knew that he had won. Because Kate, you know, I don't know if we made it clear enough, but she has a lot of fucking power. And like her dad had enticed him with, you know, him being able to erase his, you know, mistakes for him, she did that for him at the end of the season. And so he was able to come back as Joe, but now he's embraced this fucking psychopath in him, which I think it's interesting that Kate is similar to Love, but in a different way, because with Kate, she tells him, like, we're going to keep each other good. So, like, keep each other in check, right? Like, they're not going to go off on killing sprees or whatever the fuck. I don't think she would, at least. I hope not. But
I don't think she would either.
But we don't know. We'll see. So I think that it's an interesting twist because there was a lot of fucking twists in the season, but I was surprised that he really did go crazy because that's what I had wanted when I had said
that's what you asked for.
No, dude, literally.
Even
wait, but can I just quickly say, you know, that girl that I said that was like, oh, but like I was still kind of rooting for him. So what I was gonna say was that she was like, I was still kind of rooting for him, but you know what? You're right, he is crazy. I was like, yeah, girl, he is crazy. I didn't need this moment, but I'm glad that it's there because apparently some people needed it.
I think with him, like this entire season, basically getting over Marianne, when she was finally out of the picture, now like with Kate being his person of interest, this is like a person who actually justifies his kills. So like the whole season with him questioning like, no, I don't want to be like that. It's because he had all of like those social, like the social barriers holding him back. But at the end, he's just kind of like, you know what? Killing, I've learned to accept it. I mean, it's not one size fits all type of solution, but
yeah,
Kate's here to change the world and I'm here to help. And if I got to kill a few bitches, that's what I'm going to do.
And if some bitches get in the way, I have my knife ready.
Yeah, I've got 14 ways to kill. I've said it before.
Okay, so how were you feeling after this?
Dude, part 2 was so much better than part 1.
Yeah, I agree.
I liked it so much more. I like the idea that Joe like was going insane, and I like that it wasn't a random stranger that was killing everyone, because that's not what I was looking for in the show. That would have been very cheesy, and it would have just felt like, oh, they're gonna do that with every season. Like,
yeah,
I
now
like
Joe's
how
the hero.
It's irritating, and I know they do it on purpose, but it's irritating that he always fucking wins. I just want this man to have one L. Just one.
Well, it's because when he finally freaking loses, it's gonna be so amazing. I fucking hope that it doesn't turn into like the end of the Lovely Bones. I swear to God, if Joe doesn't get caught and he just fucking falls off a cliff, I will be so mad. I hope he gets
we see him die of natural causes.
Oh my God, I will lose my mind. He's so wood. He's so wood.
I also hope that this ends well. I don't know if it's just the circle of people that I hang out with, but a lot of people didn't really feel hype about season 4 from where
I agree
I'm
with
at.
you. Like, it wasn't really trending anywhere. Like, I think that part 1 came out, no one talked about it. Part 2 came out, nobody talked about it. I was like, oh, okay, I guess everyone's over Joe Goldberg. I mean, I get it, but damn.
Joe exhaustion. Well, I'm sorry. It's because Joe wasn't in this one. It was Jonathan Moore. I don't know if you heard.
Oh, that's why. That's why it flopped.
I think it's because Love wasn't in it, honestly, because that's when I was super into the show. The whole idea of them both being killers. I was so into that shit. So when they all of a sudden introduced a bunch of pretentious rich people, I was so turned off by the idea of this show. But it felt like one of those seasons that you just had to follow it up until the end for it to get good.
I know, and I freaking hate that though. Like, I hate, like, even in books where they're like, get to book 2, it'll get good, I promise. It's like, no, I need it to get good
episode
now.
40. It gets good at episode 40. That's when it really gets wild.
That's when that's when you hit euphoria level. I don't know. Like, I agree with you. I felt like this show was more exciting with Love, because then the stakes were higher. But now, I mean, I think the stakes are still high, though, because now all bets are off, I'm assuming. Now I'm assuming he'll fucking kill, no problem. He's not going to be feeling guilty about it, because he would feel guilty. Or remorseful, yeah. He would feel that way because he genuinely believed that he's a good person. So
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Was Gwen from season 1 his first kill?
No, it was wasn't it his mentor? No, it was his dad. Man. It was his dad. Remember when he shot him?
Okay.
As a child?
Yes, you're right. You're right. But Gwen was his first like obsessive person that he took, right?
Yeah, that was his first like love.
His first
supposedly.
love.
Well, he thought it would be Candace technically, but Candace didn't die, so.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, so Marianne is good, thank God. She's with her daughter, but I do wonder if she's gonna try to get herself involved. I hope she doesn't. I hope she's like good, you know? She's the only one who survived out of all the ones he loved.
Yeah. But I wonder if it's gonna come back and bite him. You know, something has to come back and bite him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought that Love was gonna show up in this season.
Well, I mean, she did, but not in the way that everyone
she looked
wanted.
like such a queen.
I know, I freaking love her. But anyway, what's that one
Rest
saying?
in paradise.
Is that one saying? I support women's rights, but more importantly, I support women's wrongs. Yeah.
Love that. Love that for her. Oh my gosh. That was a long... That's it. Bye.
That's it. Okay, cool. Thanks for listening.
Dude, I'm so glad that we talked about this. This has been on my mind.
I have been like wanting to say everything about this fucking show because I was so excited that we finally saw, you know, something better than last season. At least I still think this is better than last season.
Okay. Well, you know, we are also going to use season 5 when it comes out. So let's make some predictions. We gotta make predictions. What's gonna happen?
Prediction hour.
Can I make a big prediction? And it's kind of like knock on wood type of.
Okay.
I have a prediction that season 5 is gonna flop.
Well, I mean, this one already flopped, so it's not like...
I feel like it's gonna flop worse. Because didn't you hear that the actor apparently was like, this character Joe, he always has sex, and I don't want to have sex because I love my wife. And people came for him.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole fucking discussion. We should have talked about that at the beginning of the episode. But yeah, he pretty much said that he didn't want to do any more like explicit sex scenes anymore because he had quite a few in this show. But I mean, like, I feel like that's not a crazy thing to ask. I mean, you don't have to have explicit sex scenes in a show to make it interesting.
This kind of reminds me of that one chapter in Evelyn Hugo where
oh my god, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Remember Evelyn acted in like a very like sexual scene in a movie, but it was with her ex-husband, and her wife was like, "Excuse me?" Is there anything you wanted to mention?
I feel like we've said everything that we need to say. I am predicting that in the next season, I do think it will also flop, but I also feel like it might be their last one because of the low traction that this one had. And I think that, I don't know, I think Joe's gonna do the same shit. He's gonna fucking
bullshit.
Yeah, still on his bullshit. I think that he's gonna idealize Kate, but she's probably gonna do something like super minuscule, and then he's gonna be like, damn, I knew she wasn't the one. I just knew it. Also, how does Joe always end up with these like powerful women? Like, hello?
He just is so, like I said, he's charming. He's a manipulative, charming dude. No, okay. Let me reword. There are some people that you can tell the way they come off, they are always going to be liked in social circles. And that's just the type of energy that Joe gives off. And that's why he gets away with so much shit.
Okay. Yes, true. Can't wait for him to just get caught. Like, I hope it's the next season. Please. I just want him to get caught already. We've been doing this for too long.
I really hope that if Kate dies, I do not want her to die because of him. I want her to die because of something he probably did, but not because he's the one who does it.
I'm pretty sure he's going to do it because now he's psycho mode. So
I don't know. I guess we'll see. Thank you so much for listening to our episode. Oh my god, that was a long one. Thank you.
Long ass episode.
I promise.
Fingers crossed.
It will. If you are listening to us in audio form, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or anywhere you get your podcasts on, can you please leave a rating of 5 stars and a review? Just like tell us how you feel about you season 4. I would really like to know.
Not again.
And if you are if you are watching us on YouTube, if you can like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We usually post every Tuesday and Thursday, but life has been a little hectic for both of us.
Yeah, so I feel like for this remaining month and probably the next one, it'll only be like once a week if we're lucky.
Sorry, Hannah Montana life getting a little hard to handle.
I know, seriously, hard to balance. Can you believe it? I lost my weight, guys.
I know. I just want the best of both worlds. It's a little tough, Hannah. If you want to support us, though, because we've been trying to get more exposure. If you just want to tell your friends, family, loved ones about us, the best type of exposure is through word of mouth. We also have social media. We have TikTok, which is the Book Fix Pod, THEBOOKFIX. It's actually just the Book Fix. I like it. And Instagram is the Book Fix Pod, THEBOOKFIXPOD. I think I'm going to switch to Insta. I use TikTok a lot. So if you want to support us on there, great. But I'm going to become an Instagram queen. That's my March, April goal.
Finally.
It's hard, dude. And also TikTok's dying soon, so
yeah, that's true.
Rest in paradise.
Rest in paradise.
But what if, Yahaira, this might be a little crazy. What if someone wants to support us more and they have like $5 extra?
So we did make a Patreon recently, and we'd really want our Patreon to be a place where our listeners can let us know what kind of content they want to see from us. So if you're interested, our Patreon is patreon.com/bookfix.
Oh my God, we're done. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Dude, you know what next week is?
Shadow and Bone?
Shadow and Bone! Dude, where it started.
Yeah, going back to the beginning.
Can we use the same title?
No.
Can we start it the same way? I'm so excited.
I don't even know what we said. I think it was Who's Mel?
Who the fuck is Mal? Dude, I don't even want to listen to our old episode, to be honest.
I don't either. I probably won't, but
don't look back.
It would be kind of cute, but no, I won't do it.
No, I don't want. We gotta invite Niles back on for this episode.
For this one, shout out Niles.
Sometimes I still hear her voice.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm excited to talk about the next part of Shadow and Bone.
Oh my God, join us next week.